Welcome to our pod. Today we'll explore the dual rate overhead calculation. It is a way in which we determine precisely the general administrative costs and applying it to a project. Applying general and administrative or G&A costs on a construction project tender is an often overlooked area. G&A or overhead is a substantial expense paid for a contractor's margins. Unfortunately, only a handful of formulas capture the realities of its dynamics. The dual rate overhead application methodology is an algorithm formulated from construction contractor banking data and is the most accurate. Due to the complexity of construction contracting and its high percentage of uncontrollable factors, precise information improves the probability of project success. This costing methodology is just one of dozens of steps. This calculation was created after much cost data research by industry's professionals and others such as Fales, McCall, and Willis in the 1960s. People have challenged the basis of the algorithm and its fundamentals, but time has proven its accuracy and positive cost decision effects. A recent study by Mushonga in 2015 confirms its post-millennial value. In our single-digit net profit before tax business, we do not have room for errors or guesses. Said differently, the difference between loss and gain is razor thin. While the client almost always accepts tenders that under-recover costs or are low, top quartile contractors use a method that accurately reflects the G&A expense of directing various construction installation components. In an economic expansion, contractors must not waste profit opportunities. These extra dollars represent reinvestment and company wealth building. So not accurately costing projects leads to difficulties such as unsuccessful tenders that were well aligned with the construction organization's skill set, or underpricing the project, resulting in no profit after months of work in the field and office. Tenders are accepted if competitive or low priced. This is a one-way street. There is no balancing of overcosted and undercosted tenders. The cascading effect of many poorly priced offers might be unrecoverable for a construction firm. In recessionary times, fewer tenders make each more critical. Having a clear understanding of the break-even cost of the project leads to better negotiation outcomes under stressful circumstances. That is, you know your final cost, or you have a walkaway number. Additionally, according to the Bureau of Statistics in Australia, the construction industry has 3 times more new entrants than manufacturing, 6.3% versus 1.9% for the fiscal year 2020. These less experienced new firms are many times hungry competitors. Allow us to make a further distinction. Having a separate G&A cost amount from the profit number is an effective strategy. In good times when work is plentiful, using a combined number that is overhead and profit is a common practice. Still, there's no clear understanding of the estimated office overhead expense amount or its effect on a specific tender. The extra dollars needed to fund the home office become apparent on each bid and may cause a healthy review of home office operations if too high. Now, we'll explain how applying G&A to a tender, that is, the calculation process of determining the cost to manage 2 different cost categories in general and administrative costs, is an expense that can add 10% or more to a tender, where the competitor's price proposals are within 1% of yours. As we know, the labor content of a project directly affects the cost of general administrative. In other words, field labor and equipment cause companies to hire payroll clerks, safety professionals, shop managers, and operations leaders. With each is associated office space, vehicle, technology, and miscellaneous costs. More subcontracted works reduce this percentage. Suppose a construction firm chooses a single rate for overhead, say 10%, Or a worse practice, using a combined single rate of 10% for both overhead and profit. The lack of definitive cost understanding may be problematic when recessionary terms occur. The contractor may win a disproportionate amount of management-intensive and high labor equipment content projects. It might not only affect tendering success ratios, but also margins at project completion. Also, many contracted jobs that need high management focus increases the odds of significant mistakes and take attention away from the business. Accurately determining this overhead expense to the tender is critical. That is, a company's cost must be recovered, otherwise it pays for finishing a project. You see the cost information in front of you. Material subcontracts are a separate cost and need to be budgeted separately for the year, just like labor and equipment. And so the numbers actually flow from the equation, an algorithm. It's really based on a curve that really shows more of the labor cost and equipment cost. So as you look through the numbers, what you're seeing is a way to determine that for a company. So the ratio being different, again, between the labor and equipment and the material and subcontract places you on a differing curve on the line. So as you look at this, it's a fairly straightforward calculation. You just need to fill in what you're going to budget for the next year, what you're going to predict for labor, equipment, subcontract, and material. And then the budget for overhead, that is the G&A expense, will be posted, and the algorithm will take care of the rest. And you see the numbers. The material and subcontract to labor and equipment ratio for this company is 0.84. The X factor, which is part of the algorithm, and it's something you cannot calculate without the data, is 2.36. The algorithm derives a percentage from these numbers. And so for material and subcontracts, the overhead needed to manage the material and subcontract amount is 7.72%. That's regardless of profit. That's the cost. For the labor and equipment, it is 18.20%. That is extra money needed to manage the material and subcontracts. Dual rate overhead allocation depends on several factors. The most important is an accurate yearly company budget. This is a forecasted number. Besides the overall numbers, it must delineate between the labor and equipment and the material and subcontract amounts of the new year's projected projects. An accurate direct cost and overhead budget will lead to more precise expense allocation. Now, we've observed that a practice is best if it can be applied to multiple applications across a construction firm. The dual rate overhead allocation has this quality. One further use is to use these percentages to add this expense to job cost reports, so a clearer picture can be presented. The added portion of G&A amplifies savings or shows cost overruns to their full extent. Indeed, the dual overhead rate method coupled with the job sizing, which I can show in another pod, can help in post-job reviews. General administrative expense can comprise from 3 to 15% of the cost of a project. Therefore, managing with accurate expense allocation should be a primary focus. In addition, in strong or weak economic times, it assists the contractor in capturing good opportunities or winning a project when few are on offer. Cost clarity makes a negotiator more effective. This credible process provides transparency. The other side has less reason to question the proposed amount of your tender. This is helpful in a variation or a final discussion. Our main point is that the custom nature of construction projects demands more precise information to make both risk-taking and risk-reducing and profit-enhancing decisions. And the dual rate calculation approach provides that. Thank you for listening to our pod. We hope you enjoyed it. Please stay safe.